Here are the top stories for today, October 10, 2019. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo accepted the challenge if youth groups dared to take mass transport. Mayor Benjamin Magalong assured that it is business as usual for him at the Baguio City Hall despite threats on his life. Koronadal feasted on delectable lechon to prove that local meat products are safe. And a Pinoy surfer bagged the championship crown of the 25th Siargao International Surfing Cup. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo on Wednesday accepted the challenge if youth groups dare to take mass transport. This after Panelo denied Bayan Secretary General Renato Reyes' claim that Metro Manila is facing a mass transport crisis. More on this from Teresa Montemayor.
After initially rejecting a youth group's dare to take mass transport to experience the daily plight of commuters, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said he will accept the challenge. Panelo said he will commute from his home to Malacañang in San Miguel, Manila on Friday, October 11. Earlier, Panelo brushed aside the dare as silly, saying that the road in going to work and returning home or going elsewhere in Metro Manila is a given. On Tuesday, Anak Bayan dared Panelo, President Rodrigo Duterte, Transportation Secretary Art Tugade, and MMDA spokesperson Celine Pialago to commute to work every day for a week to experience the hellish reality of our everyday commute. In a statement, Panelo insisted that there is no mass transport crisis because the problems were solvable and that commuters are still able to reach their respective destinations. He said the government is currently rehabilitating the country's mass transport systems and has called the attention of the management to do more in providing efficient service to the public. The Department of Transportation also denied that there is a mass transport crisis, but admitted that there are transport issues and problems that are currently being addressed. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
Meanwhile, the PUV Modernization Program has earned the support of all the existing operators in Central Visayas. LTFRB Regional Director Eduardo Montealto Jr. said 80% of the estimated 34,000 public utility jeepney, bus, trucks for hire, tourist bus, UV Express vans, and taxi units operators in the region have already completed their requirements to totally embrace the PUV Modernization Program. He said the remaining 20% are still in the process of completing their registration. The PUV Modernization Program aims to phase out 15-year-old or older jeepneys and replace them with Euro 4 compliant vehicles which can run on renewable energy. Each unit's cost ranges from 1 million to 2.2 million pesos. Montealto urged the public not to listen to the cause-oriented groups whose job, he claimed, is to oppose whatever programs the government will undertake. He said that 6% interest per annum for the 7-year amortization of a modern PUV is an acceptable rate, and it is normal in all transactions to ask for requirements. He adds that what we are after for in the PUV Modernization Program is the convenience and safety of passengers and an effective fleet management system. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III has urged more local government units to create a Public Employment Service Office or PESO to generate more jobs. Bello made the call on Wednesday at the opening of the 3-day 19th National PESO Congress at SMX Convention Center in Bacolod. He said that at least 20% of jobs in the country are generated through the PESOs, but only a few local governments have their own employment office. Bello said that opening a local employment office is the dual responsibility of the LGU and the Department of Labor and Employment. Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo has commended the Labor Department and the Public Employment Service Office Managers Association of the Philippines, or PESOMAP, for their efforts in generating jobs for Filipinos. He said, bringing a comfortable life for all is the socio-economic goal of President Duterte. Panelo noted that since the start of the Duterte administration in 2016, the numbers in the labor force have drastically changed. Employment rate remains at a peak of 94.5% in July this year, while unemployment rate remained stagnant at 5.5% in April this year. In Baguio City, Mayor Benjamin Magalong assured on Tuesday that it is business as usual for him at the City Hall despite threats on his life. In a phone interview with the Philippine news agency, Magalong said that his brand of public service will not change. His goal to implement changes in the city will continue and will not be affected by the ongoing development on his life. He also said that whatever is happening right now is his personal concern and he will just divulge the truth. On October 3, City Administrator Bonifacio de la Peña ordered security personnel to implement stricter measures at City Hall for the safety of the public. Of the 8 entrances and egress at the City Hall building, only 3 were left open and are being used by the people transacting at the offices inside the establishment. Several policemen belonging to the City Mobile Force have been deployed at City Hall aside from the presence of a K9 dog. Magalong, who is a former head of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group or CIDG, is one of the resource persons in the ongoing legislative investigation on the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law. He said his appearance before a Senate inquiry while taking his time does not affect his work as mayor of Baguio. The Philippine Air Force is looking for a supplier of spare parts of its soon-to-arrive helicopters, and PSA Caraga is all set to implement the Philippine ID system. More on this from Janice Cave.
The Philippine Air Force is looking for suppliers of spare parts needed for the replacement and maintenance of the night targeting system of its soon-to-arrive Bell AH-1S Cobra attack helicopters. The 2 Jordanian-donated aircraft are expected to arrive next year as the pilots and crews are still undergoing training. The pre-bid conference is set on October 15 at 10 a.m. at the PAF Procurement Center Conference Room in Villamor Air Base, Pasay City. The deadline for bid submission and the opening is on October 28 at 9:15 a.m. In other news, the Philippine Statistics Authority in Caraga region has assured the public that it is ready for the full implementation of the Philippine ID system next year. PSA Caraga Director Dr. Rosalinda Apura said the registration and enrollment for PhilSys in the region will commence in July 2020 and will prioritize the indigenous peoples and members of the Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program. Meanwhile, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles said the national government is appreciative of the efforts of local government units to beat the 60-day deadline given by President Duterte to clear their roads and sidewalks of obstructions. He said it is up to the DILG to announce the result of the clearing operations, whether or not they achieved 100% compliance. He adds that fair warning was given and the LGUs were well informed, so they have no excuse not to comply, especially that there were LGUs that are 100% compliant. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, the Philippines and South Korea strengthens its bilateral ties. A halfway house for former rebels is underway in Ilocos Norte. These and more when we return.
Since my visit in May 2017, which unfortunately was cut short due to the security emergency in Marawi, I have always looked forward to returning to Russia. I am here today to reaffirm our strong commitment to build a robust and comprehensive partnership with the Russian Federation. It is imperative to sustain these consultative dialogues and enhance our mechanism to further strengthen the foundation of our growing relationships. I am therefore happy with this opportunity to continue our dialogue with the view of identifying vital areas of cooperation where we should concentrate our effort in the coming years.
Several groups welcomed the decision of the Department of Education in Davao Region to shut down the operations of Salugpungan schools. In an order announced on Tuesday, DepEd 11 pointed out that the closure of the 55 Salugpungan schools was based not only on its links to the New People's Army, but also due to various regulatory violations, deficiencies, and compliance issues. In a press briefing in Malacanang on Wednesday, the 8-member delegation of IP leaders who reported the truth on communist activities said the closure of these schools is good for their tribes as it ruins their culture and tradition. The League of Parents of the Philippines also welcomes the closure of the Salugpungan schools, noting that it rid the IP communities of rebel recruitment grounds and was being used as a reason to lure the university students. Philippine Army in Caraga region also welcomed the shutdown, saying these tribal schools are often being used as breeding ground for the Communist Party of the Philippines and its armed wing, the NPA. In Ilocos Norte, the construction of a halfway house for former rebels in the province of Ilocos Norte is expected to break ground here before the year ends. According to Provincial Social Welfare and Development Officer Corazon Lilian Celyarin, the 5 million peso building is now ready for bidding. She said the construction of a temporary shelter for former rebels in compliance with the national government's Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, or ECLIP. Under this program, former rebels and their families are given financial assistance, shelter, education, skills training, healthcare, and legal assistance through a convergence of various national and local government agencies. Once fully operational, the halfway house will receive and process the rebel returnees as the government provides them with the necessary assistance and skills to hasten their transition to mainstream society. Aside from the provision of temporary shelter, each rebel returnee is entitled to 15,000 pesos immediate assistance, 21,000 pesos reintegration assistance, and 50,000 pesos livelihood assistance, among other benefits. The Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict in Central Luzon has cited the need to amend the Human Security Act as it emphasized that rebellion is a hindrance to the country's peace and development. Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity Carlito Galvez Jr. cited on Wednesday the need to stop rebellion for the country to achieve long-lasting peace. Galvez called for the amendment of 3 provisions in the Human Security Act that include the number of days for detention, fines on wrong apprehensions, and detention of a suspect and on surveillance. Ernesto Angeles Alcanzare, lead organizer of the Yes for Peace Bayanihan ng Bayan movement, said they are now collating data to identify programs that would lead to the attainment of peace and development. Earlier, the group cited the need to recognize the right to peace of every Filipino, reject the use of arms and violence to pursue anyone's beliefs, causes, ideology, and religion, and end the armed conflict between the government and armed groups. A teenage member of New People's Army voluntarily surrenders to authorities in Bulacan. Meanwhile, a town in northern Samar declares the NPA persona non grata. More on these and other news from the provinces from Teresa Montemayor.
A 17-year-old female member of the New People's Army surrendered to the authorities in Bulacan last month. She was presented to the media during a press briefing of the Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict Region 3, or RTF-LCAC Central Luzon. The female rebel who joined the NPA in 2016 cited the neglect she felt from the leftist group when she gave birth, and stated this as the reason for her surrender. The RTF-LCAC Central Luzon reiterated its intensified campaign against insurgency and to deter the youth from falling into terrorism. In Lanao del Norte, a total of 28 loose firearms with ammunition were surrendered by residents of Colambugan Town to government authorities. The surrender of the loose firearms to the Army's 5th Mechanized Battalion was facilitated by Colambugan Mayor Lorenzo Manigos. The mayor assured the local government's continuous collaboration with the Army. He also lauded the Army for sustaining peace and development in the municipality. In other news, the local government of Mondragon, Northern Samar on Tuesday declared the NPA persona non grata. In a resolution, the LGU pointed out the presence of insurgents has immobilized business activities, discouraged potential investors, and made the civilian population prone to unconventional threats. The local government vowed to continue its support to the national government's intention to eradicate insurgency in the entire country. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
To further improve the ease of doing business and government service delivery, the National Economic and Development Authority urges government agencies to consciously put clients and workers alike at the center of their frontline services. NEDA Secretary Ernesto Pernia said citizens and businesses appreciate it when the service providers care about providing what their clients need as fast as they can and by all ways and means. According to NEDA's Impact Evaluation Study on the implementation of the Anti-Red Tape Act of 2007, clients have become more satisfied with how they are served, how fast agencies act on their requests, and when transactions are successful. RA 11032, or the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018, effectively amends ARTA, which seeks to cut red tape in government agencies that delay the delivery of services. The study further recommends to encourage government agencies to create their own initiatives and strategies and invest in innovation that can improve services and minimize corruption. Up next, Koronadal feasted on delectable lechons to prove that local meat products are safe. Binion Laguna will showcase its heritage tourism at the 30th Southeast Asian Games. We'll be back after a few reminders.
Sa pag-unlad ng turismo, umangat ang Pilipino. Mga may bahay, nagkahanap buhay. Tagahugas ng pinggan, naging gabay sa karagatan. Isang engineer, napaunlad ang sining ng buong barangay. At ang simpleng magsasagwan, malaki ang tulong sa kalikasan. Silang walang tinig, boses na ng kasaysayan. At ang specialty ni nanay, ngayoy pinipilahan. Ang best friend ng lahat, naging tour guide na. At ang daan-taong apo, naibida ang kulturang Pilipino. Lunti ang ilog, naging entablado. At katutubong sayaw, napaindak ang buong mundo. Ipagdiwang ang isang dekada ng Tourism Act. Kabuhayan sa turismo, pinauunlad ang bawat Pilipino.
As the Philippines and South Korea celebrate 70 years of diplomatic relations, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. reaffirmed to strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. During the reception of the National Day and Armed Forces Day of the Republic of Korea on Tuesday, Locsin said they reaffirmed the determination of the country to work with South Korea in taking their friendship further forward and upward. Locsin lauded the intensified engagements between the two countries in defense modernization and capacity building. South Korean Ambassador to the Philippines, Han Dong-man, likewise thanked the Filipino soldiers for their contributions during the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. He said South Korea pledges to boost contributions to the Philippine economy by expanding trade and foreign investment inflows, as well as bringing in more tourists and encouraging businessmen to invest in the Build, Build, Build program. South Korea is the Philippines' fourth largest trading partner, with total trade reaching $15.6 billion in 2018. Local officials and residents of Koronadal feasted on at least 35 delectable lechons on Tuesday to prove that local meat products are safe from diseases, especially the dreaded African swine fever or ASF. As part of the festivity, the local government held a competition for the best tasting and best prepared lechon. Visitors were treated by the 27 barangays with boodle fights of the roast pigs. The Lechon Festival is among the highlights of the city's 19th Charter Anniversary celebration and month-long Negosyo Festival. Meanwhile, inmates of the Zamboanga City Jail feasted on crabs during the Banana Curacha or Bakura Festival on Wednesday. Different curacha and banana dishes were cooked and were distributed to the inmates at the facility. This year's Zamboanga Hermosa Festival is the fourth time for ZCJ to join by conducting its own activity inside the facility. And in South Cotabato, the municipal government of Tampacan unveiled Tuesday evening its 100-foot Christmas tree made of recyclable waste materials. The giant Christmas tree is considered as the tallest in South Cotabato province and in Region 12. Mayor Leonardo Escobillo Jr. said he considers the project as a huge success as it mainly raised awareness among their residents about proper waste management. In our 4 news, several people in Chiapas, Mexico have been arrested for possible connection to an attack on a mayor who was tied to a truck and dragged through the streets. A viral video showed Mayor Jorge Luis Escandon Hernandez of Las Margaritas Municipality being dragged through the streets on a truck. Local media reports that a group of about 50 farmers forcefully broke into Hernandez's office and kidnapped him. Police later rescued the mayor. The farmers reportedly attacked the mayor for not fulfilling campaign promises, including fighting poverty in the region. Local police have arrested 11 suspects. The city government of Binion Laguna will use the hosting of women's football and some men's matches of the 30th Southeast Asian Games to promote the city's cultural and heritage tourism. The city government forged a memorandum of agreement with the 30th SEA Games Executive Committee Director Tomas Carrasco Jr. and Metro Manila Venues Cluster Head Michael Verano at the Binion Football Stadium. Mayor Walfredo Di Maguila Jr. said the LGU had sought guidance from the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee to assure successful hosting of the football matches of the biennial meet. He said hundreds of city marshals and barangay tanods will be deployed to help police and military in securing the holding of the event from November 30 to December 11 this year. Aside from Binion, Santa Rosa and Los Baños have been chosen to host netball and floorball and indoor hockey, respectively. Majority of the 529 events from 56 sports will be held in Metro Manila, Subic in Pampanga, and New Clark City in Capas, Tarlac. In sports, Filipino professional surfer John Mark Tocong bagged the championship crown of the 25th Siargao International Surfing Cup. Tokong, a native of Siargao Island and locally known as Marama, defeated Hawaiian professional surfer Noah Beshen during Heat 1 of the final round on Wednesday. Of the 21 Filipino surfers who joined the competition, only Tokong managed to reach the quarter-final round, where he outclassed surfer Ani Anwar of Indonesia. In the semi-final round, Tokong won over surfer Thomas King of Costa Rica. He outclassed American surfer Skip McCullough during the Heat 3 in round 3. After emerging as champion this year, Tokong is ranked number 934 by the World Surf League in the Men's Qualifying Series 2019. Today, we commemorate World Mental Health Day as we raise awareness on mental health issues and reach out to those who suffer from mental disorders. This as the World Health Organization warns that suicide kills more people than terrorism or calamities. Janice Cabe has the story.
Suicides due to mental disorders take more lives every year than terrorism or natural calamities. Every 40 seconds, someone is said to lose their life to suicide. A World Health Organization report shows nearly 800,000 people commit suicide every year due to psychological reasons. The WHO stated that around 350 million people are suffering from depression and 264 million people face anxiety disorder. As many as 23 million people have reported schizophrenia and 60 million people bipolar disease. The number of dementia patients has also increased to 50 million. More alarming is that over 40% of countries do not have mental health care policies. Another 30% do not possess mental health care programs, and 25% of countries do not have mental health care regulations. 2 in every 3 people do not come for treatment, fearing exclusion from society. World Mental Health Day is observed on October 10 every year to raise awareness of mental health issues around the world. This year, the WHO encourages everyone to prepare to take 40 seconds of action to help improve awareness of the significance of suicide as a global public health problem, improve knowledge of what can be done to prevent suicide, reduce the stigma associated with suicide, and let people who are struggling know that they are not alone. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
This week on Pros and Cons, we are discussing the operation of Philippine Offshore Gaming Operations, or POGO, in the country. Joining us are Wilson Lee Flores, Chairman of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and NCRPO Chief Guillermo Eliazar. How are POGOs benefiting the country? Are POGOs potential threats to national security? Should we stop the operation of POGOs on the pretext of preventing online gambling? We'll find out the answers to these and more on Pros and Cons, Saturday, 6 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. only on IBC 13. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo accepted the challenge if youth groups dared to take mass transport. Mayor Benjamin Magalong assured that it is business as usual for him at the Baguio City Hall despite threats on his life. Koronadal feasted on delectable lechon to prove that local meat products are safe. And a Pinoy surfer bagged the championship crown of the 25th Siargao International Surfing Cup. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.